that. Awesome.
Okay.
So it's amazing that we're talking about Victoria, how she awakens to this beautiful realization of her spirituality to write a book. So I want you to share with us kind of what was that
Yeah.
transformation or that
Yeah.
calling.
Yeah, that calling. Yeah, I think all through my life, what I sort of spiritual connection experiences, because I'm, like I was just explaining to you a while ago, that I was born into a spiritual family, so it was very open. We didn't have to, if I experienced something during the night, if I heard something, then it was safe to share. It didn't become unsafe until I started to mix with bigger groups, while like at school, where people would talk about scary movies and things, and odd people I'd share, oh, this has happened, and they'd be like, oh, tell me a ghost story. So it's a little bit like that, break time. It was like, tell us a ghost story.
Yeah,
But then as I got older, a lot of fear did creep in for me, and
yeah.
I sort of shut things down. And then it wasn't until I went through my divorce, and I think you always have that catalyst in life where you sort of there's a moment in time where you go, wow, okay, big transformation for me. And not only was it, around the divorce, so that relationship, it was finding me. So I think
And
that was the
at what
start.
age? What age
I
was
was
that?
35. I was 35.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 35. Um, so there was a lot. So it wasn't just the divorce, it was finding me. And I think, and I did start to write, I was always writing little bits and pieces of my experiences anyway, because I was almost what I felt like I was collecting my sort of journey through life of things that had happened.
Mm.
And maybe unconsciously, I was collecting that for something to come in the future, which would be a book. Now, I don't speak openly about spirituality and my sort of psychic abilities in this book that I've just written. This book is more about my work. It's more about how I've my experience of transformation, supporting people through transformation. So lots of different groups of people in schools, and then in hospitals, and colleges, and for the government. So I feel this book is like a real foundation book. It's a broad brush book. It sort of takes you through, and I wanted to try and simplify that connection to oneself. So I use the word intuition. Now, in the book, I use the word intuition, but I know it to be, it's my soul guidance. But I wanted it to be more, well, a bit more received, should I say, because most people understand the terminology as gut feeling, intuition. And
Mm.
I want people to understand that doesn't necessarily have to mean spirituality, because it's just connection to oneself, which is spirituality, because
Yeah.
that's what spirituality is. But some people don't particularly like the word. So I was trying to come in from that perspective of, you've got the answers. It's that gut feeling, it's that intuition. And that's why this was the idea for the book, because just before I started to write the book, the ideas started to flow. I was like, oh, this is interesting. I think I'm going to write a book. And then I got a little bit confused, because I was trying to work out what the book was going to be. And I was trying to figure out, who's my audience? Am I talking about my psychic abilities, my intuitive, skill set? Am I talking about my psychology, my neuroscience, my resilience and mindset? Because, what am I doing? Science with spirituality. So I think I stepped in and tried to work things out, instead of sitting back and going, okay, well, what do I need to write? Who am I writing for?
Yeah.
What do they need from my first book? And that's when I realized, yes, there's a little bit in the beginning where I speak about the sort of introduction, just to explain a little bit about who I am, but there's not much in there. Now, I do say it's not for this book, but it gives you that insight into why I'm writing this book and who I am.
Yeah.
So there are going to be books to come in the future, but I don't think the next two books after this will be linked to that side of things for me, this sort of psychic side.
Okay.
It's more about intuitive insight, receiving that and understanding what that really means and how you can navigate through life professionally and personally. And so that's where it all started, really. I was like, right, I'm using intuition. And from that moment onwards, it became really clear that everything I do, all I need to do is tweak my language with the word intuition. And I can use my experiences with my clients and what I'd experienced, because all through my life, whoever I've worked with, I've always worked intuitively. I've always had that knowing, and people have said, how do you know that? And I said, well, it's just a feeling, it's a knowing. I probably knew more than that, but I didn't always want to share that with people.
Yeah.
And so I've always had that. So I've been able to sort of collate all this information all the way through my life. And then I realized that once I started to really master that and trust and believe in, I can follow what my intuition, because it's right. It knows what I want. It knows who I am. Why would I be trying to follow somebody else or something else when I know who I am? If I connect to me and listen and start to trust and build that, if I move with, and this is what I started to play with, you see, even though I was doing it, I was like, let me just play around with this and just feel into it.
Yeah.
The more I started to do that, I realized, oh my gosh, that is working out. And now that's working out. And it was then that I realized that I've got to share this. I want to share this with people because it really is quite simple. It's not difficult.
No.
And the book is very, very simple. It's very, very, because simplicity is really important for me too. I don't want anything complicated. Keep it simple.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
they say, keep it stupid simple, right? It's the only way
Absolutely.
that people can
Absolutely.
transform their lives, because
Yeah.
we are overcomplicated in our brain. And when we
Absolutely.
simplify things like elementary level,
Yeah.
then it's when the subconscious mind can relax
Yeah.
and then awaken so that you can feel that
Yeah.
intuition. So let me ask you, Victoria,
Yeah.
at what age did all this kind of resonate and put together so that you could kind of finally put all the pieces together? Like, is there a specific age when you kind of, and after how much work, or did you work with a lot of clients first before your book? So,
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I had all the experience prior to working online. I did the work that before COVID, I wasn't online. So it was a big shift for me. I
yes,
was
that's
moving
when
into
we met
schools.
online.
Absolutely. Yeah. I worked for a charity with children with cancer. I was going to the hospital. So I was out and about doing working with lots of different groups of people. And then it wasn't until I went online that things started to change. So I don't know, I've always felt like I'm a little bit, the way to describe it is a little bit like Mary Poppins. She comes in, she does her work, and then she goes, oh, my job's done. And I've always felt that through my life. I've had lots of different types of job roles where I'm moving around and I have that feeling. I know when I'm done, it's like I understand what I need to understand. Now I need to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And when I know that, it's very quick for me as well. It's like, right, okay, I need to do this. And whatever I've wanted to do has always happened without me going to find the work. So I feel that that was intuitive insight to say, why don't you go now and work? You've worked with these families with cancer for 3 years. You've done an amazing job. Why don't you go and work with people with drug and alcohol issues? I didn't decide that. That's what I was hearing. I'm like, okay, that's another group of people that need help. Let's go and work with them. And lo and behold, I got contacted from the college, and it was around working with people. And I was like, oh, okay, this is working. So things started to work. So the more I focused on the things that I felt was going to be really fulfilling and that I'd really enjoy, then the more that showed up for me.
And the
So
more
then,
that you felt maybe that it was working, that there was results on the other side, right?
absolutely.
The more you trust
Absolutely.
that intuition or that gut
Yeah.
feeling that to keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. You've got to trust. It takes a bit of time because there are times when you might have the subconscious mind is, as we know, is powerful. So you might have that sort of idea that pops up or that feeling. And you've got to be quite quick because intuition flows in, but it flows in very softly. It doesn't overwhelm you. It's not that real, and sometimes you get an idea and you're like, oh my gosh, and you're really excited about it. It can start off as that, but then we're influencing that really excited feeling because intuition tends to bring it to, it's quite a calming, steady energy. It feels a very secure, stable energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you've got to watch out. If you start to lead with it, you'll start to get carried away. And that's when you can start to make those choices in the direction that you're then influencing because you're extremely excited. So you just got to be a bit masterful around, okay, so what does this mean then? And allow the energy to flow instead of you chasing it, really. Because
Yeah.
that's and then you've got obviously the subconscious mind probably is going to come along and tell you that you can't do that, because that tends to be what happens.
That's the ego trying to come in and trying to convince you to not make changes.
Absolutely.
However,
absolutely.
if we have worked enough in ourselves, right, to trust that and to be that to lead us into the next step, and it's beautiful. I've done my inner work for the past 10 years, but now is like after making a lot of different things and choices and decisions and grouping, working with a few clients and then working with group people and now leading groups of people, is like I'm trying to figure out where is my work or my piece of art. And it's a little bit of everything, but now I'm doing the human design that I was telling you or sharing with you. And I'm a 4/6. I don't know if you know anything or do you have your number?
I used to do years ago. Yeah. I mean, talking 10, 15 years ago, because it's been going on a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh yeah. I did all
It
the
will be fun.
Reiki
It will be fun for you to go back and just check your number to resonate with what your human design, your artwork, you're meant to do right now. To go back and it's like all the things that you have done that it's in your design already, and like, oh, check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So fascinating, isn't it?
I'm discovering that I'm express builder and I lead by inspiration, like Bob Proctor, like Mother Teresa, that she has been my staple all my entire life, like Gandhi. So those people that led by inspiration and are highly influencers and just building express like fast building to make simple changes to make a fast change. And my clients usually like within a week or days of just a conversation with me and just shifting a few things. Maaike, I feel like night and day is like, yes. Because
that quick
that's how simple.
perspective switch can be transformational. It can be life-changing, can't it?
Yes.
In that moment. Yeah, absolutely. That's very exciting for you.
So when did your book come to be? When was it born? At what age? Because I'm all about cycles, and I know that at our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond, we are different in our being, right? And we need different things. But for my revolution or evolution, it's really noticing every decade how much growth and wisdom we acquire. Decade.
Yeah, absolutely. So just
what age?
I'm 50 in October, and the book's just come out. So quite a bit of time after. And what happened was when I was I'm just trying to think what stage of because I was going through a divorce for quite some time. I won't go into details, but you don't need to know that. But it was probably, we'd separated. So I'm thinking about my age where I'd be. I'd probably be around about 35, 36.
Mm.
That's when I started on this rampage, I can only call it, of personal development. It was beyond anything I'd ever experienced in my life. I always felt sure about my spirituality, who I am, why I'm here. I know I'm here for something. Afterlife, I believe that, in energy. I didn't need to be convinced. I'd read books and experienced things, but this was a little bit different. This was more, I didn't realize at the time, but now I realize it was more for me to start doing work, to start working with people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I studied psychology was the first thing that I went to study. Then I moved on to neuroscience. I was crazy. Oh, I just love neuroscience. I would be reading for hours and hours and hours and hours, understanding the mind, and also weaving that energetics in everything as well. So having that scientific sort of based understanding, but then coming in from the other side with the spiritual sort of energetic, and I can only describe this as weaving the energetics through my sort of scientific based type of understanding.
Mm.
So blending them together, which I love. I absolutely love. I think I believe that, yes, there's always scientific things. Of course there are. We've got to believe, it's proven, it's black and white, isn't it? Spirituality is, there's a lot of muddy water, because we're looking all the time for the evidence, and unless you experience it, it's quite difficult for you to, I guess, believe it.
Yeah.
So you start to
Believe
go
it,
on your own path of
manifest it.
awakening and all of that, whereas you could read a scientific based paper and go, oh yeah, it's been proven, it's there, black and white. But with spirituality, it's like, well, it's a little bit like that, I believe it when I see it type thing. So I don't catch people out, as in, because I used to think I'm catching people out to get them to come and work with me because I've got the psychology and the neuroscience and the mindfulness and all of that, and the mindset and resilience. I'm very open to say, but I work very intuitively, so I'm weaving everything all the time together. And it, depending on who I'm working with, you get that flow to the individual, because the individual will present themselves to you at meeting them wherever they are. So it might be it's more spiritual type energetic work that we do together, or it might be a little bit more scientifically based until they become more comfortable with an experience using their intuition or their guidance, their soul guidance. So yeah, so the book, I think I've gone off on a tangent. I don't know why, where trying to drag myself back now to think where we were, but the book is complete and it's now out. I've got another 2 books to write, and I know you said they're coming 3, so I can really feel that. That's,
Yes.
that's true. So what I did, and I think it was really based on, the book is basically based on all of my understanding and knowledge and experience throughout my life of everything I've learned, everything I've come to understand. And I share in the book each chapter has a topic, and in that topic has an experience from a client, and then it also has my experience. So it's giving the perspectives from a client to mine, and then the reader will go off then and have their experience.
Exactly. What is the title? It's
Stop Settling, Start Living.
Oh yeah, Stop
Yeah,
Settling.
Stop Settling, Start Living. And it really was born from me, because when I was going through my divorce, I had that feeling of, I was settling with a lot of things. That's the only way I could do it. I was settling all the time, and I was putting myself last all the time. And it wasn't that I didn't care about other people, but I felt so frustrated. I felt frustrated. Then I started to resent things. I was like, this is not good. This is not good. And that's where the title came from. And I didn't have a title when I started writing the book. I didn't know what I was doing. It was just like, just write the book. And then I heard this: stop settling, start living. And I thought, I said that to myself. I'm sure I did. And that was it. I didn't even question, could it be something else? Should it be this? I was like, that's it. Simple as
Yeah.
that. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Stop settling, start living. And I think that's what it was me. And going back to you talking about who your people are, I am who my people are. That was me when I was
Exactly.
35. That woman, and I
Yeah.
can feel her when I speak about her. That woman is who I was when I was 35.
Mm.
She's in that place where she's saying, I've got all these hidden passions. I don't speak out. I'm frightened of judgment. I'm fearful of ridicule. But I believe there's something here and I want to blossom, but I can't find a safe space. And that was me. And I was searching for that all the time. And now I'm like, that's what I do. I can offer you that. I'm going to turn this. I don't want to keep getting all those notifications up. So yeah, so I guess, so we're looking at a period of, I mean, it only took me 6 months to write the
6 months.
book. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah. And I started the book in the October,
Mm-hmm.
and the first date to publish it was the end of January, the 31st of January. And that was a little bit, what's the word? Wishful thinking. I don't know whether it was guided. I'm not quite sure. I questioned that quite a bit, and I'm thinking, was it guided? Was it not guided? But I didn't hit it, and it was fine. It was like, that's okay. It's okay to not. I talk about this in the book. We're not perfect. It doesn't matter. So I set another date, and that was oh my gosh, that was, I think, 4 weeks later. I didn't hit that either. And what I didn't realize was, you write the book, then the next step comes, because once you've written the book, you have to put it all together. Then you've got to find a platform. Then you've got to make sure everything's correct. Then you've got to, it's just, there's quite a lot of involvement in writing a book,
Yes.
but it's now out.
I can imagine. And
Yeah.
how do you feel now that you have put that baby out to the world?
It feels really good. It feels really good. It feels a little bit basic for me, because I was talking to a friend about this the other day. She said, I'm going to get your book. And I said, it's me. And I was trying to explain, it's us 15 years ago. She went, oh, it doesn't matter. I want to get it because you've written the book. But it does feel quite basic. But I know I'm not writing the book for me. I'm writing the book for that woman. That was me back then when I was 35.
Yes.
So, and that really does fill me with joy, because I was in that place where I just wanted somebody to understand me. I wanted that safe space, and I never found it until probably 5 years after, when I
Mm-hmm.
started to look at what was going on online, because I wasn't really doing much online things. And so I spent quite a lot of time. I do believe everything comes at the right time. I don't have any regrets that it should have been done earlier, but possibly if there was an opening or an opportunity and I'd have been more aware of that, then I might have done something a little bit earlier. So I want to try and catch that woman where she is now, to say, don't wait 15 years like I had to. Let me help you now. Let's do it now, because you can do it.
Exactly. But she has to be able to open, to be
Absolutely.
receptive to the
Oh,
message, because it
absolutely.
comes at different stages. And I love from human design and from my design that the early years of like the 30s
Yeah.
are the challenges and the learning from the school of kind of hard knocks, right? And like that's when you're knocking, when you're stumbling, and like it's all hard. Those are like the 30th. And that's, I think, is when you have like all the energy and you want to do so many things, but you also kind of stumble upon a lot of hard knocks.
Yes.
Then the 40s or 30 to 50 is like introspection, recovery.
Yeah.
So that is when your book came out. It's like your transformation, your recovery. And now it's like, this is a manual for everybody else.
Yeah.
And wait to listen, because you're about to turn 50.
Oh,
and 50 is a new cycle of your era is like your
Oh,
wisdom. You're
oh,
you're becoming a leader, an influencer of exactly who you're meant to lead.
oh,
So
lovely. That's good
so the
then.
50 is a butterfly that is
A
already flying
butterfly.
because she has discovered all these things. Now it's
Yeah,
easier to understand herself. And now she's
absolutely.
putting into practice all the things that she has learned.
Yeah, I love that.
So,
Yeah.
so
And I can feel
fun.
the truth in that. Really can. I feel like there's so much so many experiences I've had and the knowledge that I've built and the understanding that I'm just at this time now where I'm ready. I can't be any more ready than what I am now to serve people, to help people.
Yes.
Yes, I'm always going to evolve. There's always more, but I've got everything I need to make that to help with that impact for sure. So I do feel it's I'm in a really good place.
And is the book a place where people can reach out to go get the book? And then it's like a manual to then get your, have your guidance in coaching, or is kind of,
Yeah, I
what is the
mean,
intention?
the love the lovely part of the book, which I didn't realize was coming until I got to near the end, was that each chapter has a audio support.
Ah,
So I have a resource that's just for the readers that they register. So they register online. It doesn't cost anything. It comes with the book. You just register in, and then you get access. It's not access on my website for anybody. It's only for whoever purchases the book.
mm-hmm,
And what that does is I go through the audios and I go into a bit more detail. I explain things a little bit more because I love the spoken word. I love that. For me, it really cements my understanding. So every chapter has an audio, and there are sort of practices where I take people through a practice, trusting and believing in their intuition. There is a lovely sort of sleep meditation. These are all my own that I've always used practices and audios, but these are new. These are all for the book.
mm-hmm.
So it was a really nice experience to collate all these audios together just for the book. And I noticed as well how different some of my recordings were, just allowing to lead intuitively and just trust rather than using how I would have normally done the practices. So it was really interesting. But I loved it. So yeah, it's really good. So you've got all these tools, extra tools that you can access and listen to and keep going back to really deepen that intuitive connection, because it's really important. It's lovely to read in the book, but then to have that extra bit of material where you can listen to me explain something, and then if you're not quite sure, you can go back and do that
Mm-hmm.
again. But the most important part of the book is you start at the beginning and you work through each chapter in order.
Yeah.
It's not a book where you really, once you've read the book, you can go in and out and dip, but it really is about starting from the beginning. It's about understanding who you are right now
Okay.
and then moving forward, because you can't tackle anything else until you get clarity on who you are and what you're desiring, what your passions are. So
Yes.
there's a lot of work in the book, but it's not hard. It's not, like I say, it's very simple. You can put as much time into it as you
Yeah.
wish,
Yeah.
or as little. It's still powerful. So yeah, it's lovely. It's really, so the audios are really, I love them. You know, when you do something, you just think, oh, I just love them. It's a
Yes.
lovely little touch to really help people. And what I love about, and you'll find this when you write your book, it's so lovely to reach people that can't reach out to you, but you're
Yeah.
giving them something that you know is valuable, that you know is going to have an impact. And that is a really lovely feeling. Like, it
Yes.
really is.
Because if you, I always think that with we pass tomorrow, now you
Mm,
have a book out there for people, and
yeah,
you get to be known
yeah,
as the intuition, or someone who awakened that intuition on somebody else, because
yeah.
it's something that needs, we don't have it naturally, not everybody has it naturally, but it
Mm,
can be worked through, and it can be learned right?
Yeah,
And we as women, we need to lead from that intuition because that's our feminine energy.
certainly
So
is.
I always like to say that if we are driven too much in the masculine energy,
Mm-hmm.
that burns our adrenals and that
Yeah,
causes so many health issues because we're
yeah,
working on a very stressful and very burning,
yeah,
unnatural way. So to
yeah,
awaken that spirituality, that intuition
yeah,
is that feminine energy, then
yeah,
kind of helps everybody balance that. And
yeah.
that is exactly what I love doing, is helping others with
Mm,
their health and wellness according to the energy or the things that they're working that is not working, and also kind of changing those tiny habits of what you're eating at what time, what are you doing in the morning, what are you doing in the afternoon, what are you
yeah.
thinking while you're doing the things. And
Mm-hmm.
that is kind of a lead to trust themselves and create a new relationship with them. So it's
Yeah,
like my book could be like the preceder to your book,
yeah,
kind of. It's
yeah.
like, how do I start connecting the dots?
Yes.
It's through the food that you're eating. How do you feel? Your energy is low,
Yeah.
up. It's like, how do you feel then? It's like, oh. And from there, because you cannot awaken that intuition if you don't have a good relationship with you and you're not
Oh
aware of
gosh,
you. So it's
absolutely, absolutely.
impossible.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, now that
There's a
I'm,
yeah, self-love, loving you yourself, and
yes,
comparison and perfectionism, ditching all of that. It's really important. But yeah,
yes,
just going back to the feminine energy, we're here to create. That's what female energy does. We're creators. We create. We could create worlds. That's what we do as women. We, you know, we,
yes,
and being in the masculine when you're ready to move with something is needed. But until then, we've got to flow in the feminine. I'm going to share something with you because I think it might be something that you might want to hear. When I was testing out a little bit, not that I didn't trust my intuition, but I was testing out things, how they work for me, what's working, what's not working, why is it not working? Because that's what my mind does. I'm very a bit logical that way. I'm going, okay, I trust in this, but why is it working here and it's not here? And I was doing a challenge. It was a 5-day challenge, and I was it was through I don't really know Phil. I can't think of his last name, but anyway, and it was all on. It was really all on. It was full on, and I was exhausted. And I realized that, oh my gosh, I'm really in the masculine energy here. I'm doing, and I'm doing it because it's a formula, and I'm doing it because it has to be done, and I'm doing it because he's told me I've got to do it, and I was, by the end of the week, I was absolutely exhausted. And then on the last day, it was like that last push. And I was saying, you've got the last push and you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And then I decided that I wasn't going to do that. What I was going to do, I was going to set the intention that I was going to get the sales that I wanted to get. And then I was going to take myself out and I was going to go and just play. Literally go out and play. I was going to go for a walk. I was going to take a coffee. I was going to ring a friend and just say, are you free? I'm free. Can you just come? I literally down tools. And I remember saying, I totally trust that the right people will come to me, and I'm going to move away from my desk and I'm going to go play. I'm going to play in that light energy. I'm going to focus on what I call prospecting, which is where it's happened. It's already happened. They're here. It's a done deal. And I'm just feeling in the energy of, wow, that was amazing. It's done and they're here. I've never had as many sales from that experience through all of my online career in that one day. And I literally turned my notifications off because I didn't want to be disturbed. I thought, no, because not prior to that, I'd be like, oh, just on a quick looking strike. Oh, see if there's any more. And I completely and utterly gave up myself and said, that's it, I'm trusting. I'm not going to work this out. I'm going to allow.
yeah.
And it was incredible. And I
That's the
came back,
sales for your book.
honestly. This was going back. I think this is a couple of years ago. This was when I really started to master my intuition. This was for, I think it was, I'm not sure if it was a group program. There was a few things I did over that year. There was group programs, one-to-ones. I just remember, and then from that day, I realized that I'm going to create what I want to create, what, and only when it feels good. And why am I doing it? Understanding. And then I'm going to go play. And I'm just going to allow it to happen. But obviously I'm doing these things. I'm not just asking, I'm doing the work before, I'm creating something, I'm putting the things in place that I know need to be. I'm going to do my lovely posts and reach the people that I want to. Then I'm going to let go. I'm going to let go and trust, and I'm going to go do what I need to do. And it does work. Honestly, it blew my mind. I was just like, oh my gosh. The only thing with that is, if you've not worked on yourself and you're listening to what your subconscious is telling you, that can interfere. So that's why I go through, as we go through the book, we talk about your beliefs and your self-talk. And that's important to deal with that part of things before you start prospecting and manifesting, because you can't unless you've sorted that out. Doesn't mean you won't have the self-talk. It means that in that moment you can be aware and you can switch that perspective very quickly. Because even now, everybody still has everything we do when we're new, when something's new for yourself, you'll do it with the book. I've got the event, I'm doing an in-person event, my first live event in October. So I've had that next up level where I'm like, oh, and then I'm going, no, switch my perspective. And it's quick, it's in the moment. And when you can catch it like that and the energy doesn't stay, it's a great place to be. And that's where you need to be before you can really start, prospecting. But it's a real journey through the book. It feels to me like I'm taking people through start of where I was, even though it took me 15 years to sort of start with who I am, then start to go and understand what is it I'm here for, what do I want to do, then looking at my belief system, well, why am I not doing it, what's stopping me, then to understand about self-love, because that's so important. I don't talk about feminine and masculine energy in the book, but I'm a massive advocate for it. It's, I work with it with my clients, but it just didn't feel like the fit in the book. But, it's really important to understand that side of things for sure.
Yeah. It's just they take it intuitively. Like you don't need to write it down as specifically, but it's like you can. So yeah, that's beautiful. So what is a takeaway, just to not make this one very long? What are
sorry.
like, what is, no. Just for this recording is like message. What is one piece of advice that you would like to leave everybody with? Like, what comes to your mind right now?
Oh gosh, this is a really lovely question. It really is, but caught me off guard. Always believe it's possible.
Always believe it's possible. I love that.
Yeah,
and
that's because it is. It really is. And I say this to a lot of people. If I can write a book, then you can do anything's possible. So always believe it's possible.
Do you want to know what my word for this year is, 2024?
Go on then.
Belief.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Belief. Yeah.
So with that, I'm going to stop the recording, but thank you so much.
Thank you so much.